welcome you to the Newby and Newby Field Memorial Dedication. I thought we would start by telling kind of how this committee came about. Wayne Lane is my very good friend, and he and I have been friends for over 45 years. And during that period of time, we have managed to have coffee together several times. Usually, I bought. But you know Wayne, so I don't need to explain that. We solve all of the world's problems, but no one has listened to us yet. But we've got good answers to all the problems of the world. About a year ago, we were meeting. We meet a couple times a week since both of our retirements. And we suddenly decided that we had lost Newby Field. That this was not negative things that happened with the football stadium and this beautiful facility. These were all positive. But somehow we lost Newby Field. And we talked about this. And we ended that conversation with, somebody ought to do something about that. Next week, we had coffee. And this time we talked about Mr. Newby. And I related that I was one of the lucky people, the hundreds that he helped. I was one of those, and that I appreciated that very, very much. And Wayne talked about teaching with him, and how student-oriented he was, and how he went to bat for the students to help them out. And we ended with, somebody needs to do something about that. This couple went on for several weeks. So finally one day, I kind of made up my mind. And I said to Wayne, Wayne, if I do something about this, will you help me? Now, I've gotten Wayne into a lot of problems over that 45 years with that very request, and usually he's pretty shy about jumping in to help me with projects because of that. But he didn't hesitate. He answered, you bet. And with that positive reinforcement, positive attitude, that can-do spirit, you will see that throughout my description of what happened with this committee. It was kind of interesting because I was talking about this to Margaret just the other day as I was putting this together. And she said, well, isn't that interesting? Because Mr. Newby was so positive, and he had such a positive approach to life. Isn't that neat? The first person I talked to was Dr. Cunningham. I think I caught her at a basketball game, if I remember correctly. And I asked her about that, and guess what type of attitude she displayed? It was positive. Let's get it done. And we talked about setting up a committee and so forth, and she suggested Steve Valencia, who is the, Steve is Associate Vice President for University Relations. And he became a member of that committee, a very valuable member of that committee, and did such things as like getting this set up and making the whole thing, coordinate the whole thing from the viewpoint of the university. And so we really appreciated that, Steve, good work you did. Next, I talked to Skeeter Bird, who's the CEO of the Northwestern Foundation. And guess what? I encountered more positive reaction. Let's do it. Let's get her done. He agreed to serve on that committee, and also suggested that we include Marie Kadavy, who was new on his staff, and she's the communications and marketing manager for the foundation. And she's not here today, but she is the one who's really responsible for putting together this program. And also, she put this together after listening to the committee talk. She then went and put this together and brought it back to us, and it just overwhelmed us. And I think you will be overwhelmed and very pleased with what you will see. Next person I talked to was Bob Battisti, who is the Northwestern Athletic Director, And again, he said, let's get it done. And Bob's working this morning. So we want to keep him busy. And then I talked to Jim Barker, and I wanted to have Jim Barker on this committee because of his knowledge and interest in local history. But he brought something with him. He was working on an idea of putting a plaque on the ticket booth, which is at the southwest corner of the tennis courts out here. And so he brought that as part of his contribution to the committee. That was really neat. It's long about this time that I talked with Marty. And I can't believe how positive she was. She supported everything that we tried to do. And was so positive, I just couldn't believe that. And then I got a call from Yvonne Carver. Now imagine this. She calls me, heard about your committee. Can I help? Let's talk about positive people for a minute. There's one. Would you folks all stand so that you can be recognized at this time? Wayne Lane, Skeeter Bird, Steve Valencia, Jim Barker, and Dr. Conner. We set several goals. One was to honor Mr. Newby. We felt like that was important. We wanted to honor Newby Field, and by so doing, honor all the players, the coaches, and the fans. We also wanted to make sure that we preserve Northwestern's history. I think that's important. How can you figure out where you're going to go if you don't know where you've been? And so we think that's very important. And last, we wanted to avoid distracting in any way from this beautiful facility, but to add to it. And it just so happens that we happen to have with us today our namesake. The namesake to the J.R. Holder Wellness Center, Mr. Jim Holder. Jim, would you please stand? We appreciate so much what you've done for this community and what you've done for this university. Thank you very, very much. We came up with 3 ways to meet these goals. One is the stone monument that is outside here that will be unveiled later. It has a bronze plaque on it. We also have a bronze plaque on the ticket booth, which served Newby Field and Ranger baseball field. The baseball field was where Cornell Hall is now. And the third one is this timeline display that we will be unveiling. We have a lot of thank yous to do. I want to thank Northwestern for their support. I want to thank the foundation, Northwest Maintenance, who was able to install some of those plaques and get this put up. The committee members for all their hard work. And on your program, there's a list of the committee members, but there's also a list of all of the donors. We couldn't have done it without them. We had to pay for this somehow. And people stepped forward, and did they ever. We had people giving us money before we decided what it was we were going to do. Isn't that neat? We also had the help of Buddy Sams, now the monument, on ordering the stone and the plaques. Really helped us out a lot. Also want to thank R&R Systems, because this thing came in, that rock stone came in on a flatbed trailer. It weighs 7,800 pounds. We thought if we could get one that if the football team could pick it up, we know we'd have another national championship. We really appreciate those folks, the Redders, for what they did in helping us get that thing off of the back of that semi and put it in its present location. We want to thank Sam and Betty Jo Pangburn for their assistance as they helped the family to come and be here with us today. And last, we want to thank the family. there's always some unintended consequences. And I did not know Marty nor any members of her family prior to this. But you know, in our discussions, we were talking one time, I don't know if you remember this, but we talked about you having two very special parents, both your mom and your dad. And I think she must have inherited some of that, because she jumped right in and supported everything that we tried to do. She was there helping us any way that she could. I hope I haven't left anyone out. I've thought about this. And I hope we've included everyone. We had support of just about everyone in our endeavors here. Our first speaker is Wayne Lane. I don't know what else I can say about him than what I've already said. I'm going to have a tough time living it down. But I did want to tell you something that maybe some of you do not know, and that is that last night in Guthrie, Oklahoma, he received the Masonic Medal of Honor. Isn't that neat? Wayne, your turn. Thank you. This idea originated with John Barton, and he's the one who saw it through. My role was primarily, go for it, John. But it's been a pleasure to have you for me. We are now somewhere close to what was the north sideline of Newby Field. It's obviously a special day. Deputy Newby was a college athlete. He's a scholar, high school and college coach, educator, community leader, administrator, family man, and craftsman. He was compassionate, dedicated, principled, respected, and humorous. As a young man, he was an all-around athlete at Friends University. You see him pictured on the front of your program here in an athletic sweater. It may appear to be this figure, but undoubtedly it's Q for Quakers, which is the name by which the Friends athlete is known. After his graduation as Friends, his coaching career took him first to Cherokee High School, and his work there for 3 years apparently got the attention of Northwestern officials who hired him in 1927 to coach the Ranger football team. He made an impressive record for 6 years. Then some political realities caught up with him, and some shenanigans at the state level cost President W. Parker his job, along with a dozen faculty members, who were all replaced by people who were more acceptable to Bill Murray. Well, Mr. Newby didn't stay idle. He enrolled at the University of Michigan to do graduate work, and while there he coached freshman football. He received his master's degree at Michigan in 1925. He kept abreast of coaching techniques and football strategies by attending various times clinics led by nationally known coaches in different parts of the country. In 1934, he was employed as football coach at Pawhuska High School, and 2 years later went to Northeastern State College in Tahlequah as football coach and athletic director. He was at Northeastern 7 years and was brought back to Northwestern. His job at that time in 1943 was
Physical Education Director of the 92nd College Training Detachment, which was based on campus. This was made up of personnel in the Army Air Corps who were assigned here for college study before going into air crew training. Mr. Newby also headed the Northwestern PE department at that time and later became athletic director, a position he filled until 1958. He continued thereafter to teach health and physical education classes. Mr. Newby was an educator whether he was in the classroom or on the athletic field. While teaching fundamentals of the game, he was teaching his players how to succeed in life. He was personally and sincerely interested in their careers as students and later after they graduated. I served with Mr. Newby for a time on a student conduct committee at the university. Our job was to deal with students who had been guilty of violating some rule, major or minor. Mr. Newby was not interested in punishing violators. He was concerned that they get on with their college careers, and he was ready to help them do so. His dedication is illustrated in the story that's familiar to us now about how Newby Field came into being. How 1929 the Rangers lost the conference title to Central State College in a wearisome game that was slogged out in the ankle-deep mud on the Northwestern field. Neither team could mount an effective offense until the Broncos scored a 3-point field goal late in the game. And that was a winning margin and the cause of the Rangers' defeat. Well, Mr. Newby determined that wasn't going to happen again. And in the months that followed, he, with minimal help, sodded the playing field. He kept it watered day and night. Stories told of how he set the alarm in the middle of the night to come up and change the water on the field. He removed the sand burrs, goat heads, mowed the grass as it grew with a hand-powered mower. And then he led in raising money for lights on the field, which were pretty rare at that time. And later, concrete stadium seating. The naming of the field for Mr. Newby was a decision made by the students. And of course, it was well-earned honor. The Northwestern football teams, as well as the Alva High School Gold Bugs, played their games on Newby Field until 1939, until the new facility at Ranger Field was completed in 1969. While on the faculty at Northwestern, Mr. Newby served 4 years as mayor of the city of Alva. He died too soon at the age of 64 in 1964. He had been married for 35 years to his wife, Lucille, who died in 1996. They had one daughter who we're happy to know is here today. Mr. Newby's work and reputation, his influence, and his achievements, and the encouragement he gave to whomever he could help, make him well worthy of being memorialized. And this monument outside and this display inside will help to assure the memory of him, as well as that of the site of Newby Field, built on.
Thank you, Wayne. Our next speaker is Ms. Patricia Headley, who is Chair of the Northwestern Foundation Board of Directors.
Well, I am glad that we could all be here today to honor Mr. Newby and what he did for Northwestern. And the foundation is very proud to have been a small part of that. And I, like said, I have the privilege of serving as chairman of the foundation this year. And I want to tell you a little bit about our foundation. It was founded in 1959 with a $50,000 gift from Blanche Sterling. And at that time, 9 other individuals donated $25 to get the foundation organized and going. The first $100,000 that was raised was through the sustaining membership drive. And after that, they set goals that they thought they could reach. The first one being 1 million mighty in 1990. And at this point in time, the foundation has assets totaling more than $15 million. And we're growing, we're hoping to grow even more. As probably a lot of you already know, I love Northwestern, but I also love what the foundation can do for a lot of the students that come here and get an education, and that's a quality education. This year, our foundation has adopted a pay it forward theme. That means to honor a good deed by performing an act of kindness for another. Right now, we are able to help 4 students out of 9 with some sort of financial scholarship. But what about the other 5? Our goal is to be able to award 6 of those 9 students with some sort of scholarship. And we hope to do that in the near future if possible, but that takes donations. So in closing, I just want you to remember that every gift makes a difference. The value is not the monetary worth of your gift, but the potential that might be unleashed from that gift. So I urge all of you to pay it forward with both your time and your resources. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Our next speaker is our president, Dr. Janet Cunningham. Dr. Cunningham.
Well, thank you, John, and good morning. And isn't this a great day and the sun shining after yesterday? It's appropriate. Northwestern is so honored to welcome the family of W.D. Newby to campus to celebrate not only his contributions to the history of the university, but to publicly acknowledge his personal and professional influence on the lives of so many of our alumni and former students. There are names that stand out in my mind, and I've been around a long time, really. When I think about the history of Northwestern, Ahmet certainly, Percival, and Newby. Those are just 3 that come to mind, and they've contributed so much to the traditions of the institution. Those who have come before and have really made my job so much easier because of what they have done. It is so important to remember their contributions and to remember those traditions and the history and really to embrace that. And I think that's one of the things that we're doing here today. You've already heard about the accomplishments of W.D. Newby, and his successes were many. I am so pleased that the group spearheaded by John Barton, Wayne Lane, Jim Barker, Dr. Yvonne Carmichael, and Steve Valencia and Bob Battisti have led this effort to honor the legacy of Mr. Newby and to help preserve an important piece of the history of Northwestern. While I personally did not know Mr. Newby, I do remember Newby Field, and I was fortunate enough to have Mrs. Lucille Newby as my 9th grade English teacher, and she was one of my favorites, and I know contributed to my success. In just a few hours, our football team will take the field in a very important game to determine if we will qualify for the national playoffs. Our football program really has been a source of community and university pride for as long as I can remember. And yet it is hard to imagine that our football program would have reached the levels of success that it has enjoyed if it were not for the foundation established by W.D. Newby more than 80 years ago. Today, the field on which we play may be different, but the spirit in which Newby Field was established remains an important part of the story of Northwestern. And on behalf of the university, I offer my congratulations to the Newby family and thank them for continuing to be part of a much larger and very appreciative Ranger family. Thank you so much.
So pleased to present Mrs. Marty Newby Campbell.
I hope you notice I'm wearing red blouse. This was such a wonderful tribute to a special man who left a deep imprint on his community, this university, and to a very special place, Newby Field, where so many young athletes played their hearts out in this game called football. My dad always had good teams, and his very best teammate was my mother, Lucille, as you heard about. They were a dynamic duo, backing each other up 100% in their dual careers as educators. I don't think she ever missed a game or an event that he was a part of. And she told me many times about driving him home for football games where he had driven to the game with the team in the bus, but was just so exhausted on the way back that somebody had to drive. So she was there every inch of the way. I don't think she ever missed anything that he was a part of, you know, either as coach or athletic director or as mayor. This is a very special honor for the Newby family, and I am so pleased that a number of Newbies are here to actually share this with me. My Newby contingent from Kansas, would you all stand, please? My cousin Lyle from Haven, his son Steve, and Steve's wife Nita from Whitewater, and his son Stan from Winfield. And so I'm just so pleased that they're here. Now, the rest of the family, I have one representative, my daughter Wendy from San Francisco. They take 2 very valuable days off from work to come with me, and I was so pleased about that. Thank you, Wendy. And then my younger daughter, who I should mention is actually a Kansan. Misty is teaching art now at the Kansas City Institute of Art, which is so well respected. This is her first year, so she really couldn't ask for time off. But anyway, she does send her greetings, and she wished she had been here. So we're trying to document and photograph and send as much to her as we can. And thank you to the committee for making a small model of this plaque for all of us, Wendy and Misty and myself, and I appreciate that very much. We would all the newbies and all of us non-newbies, like Wendy at least, who certainly has the genes of a newbie, we would like to thank everyone that had a hand in this memorial project, especially the wonderful recognition committee who just worked so hard for most of this year, I think, to pull this off. John Barton and I became very good email buddies. He kept me really in touch with what was going on, and I appreciated that very much. And of course, the committee, chaired by Johnny Martin, who just were fabulous in all of their workings. Thank you also to the many donors, and a special salute to the foundation, which sort of spearheaded the entire vision. It's always wonderful to be back in Alva, visiting friends and visiting this wellness center, which was, I think, a dream of my dad's, even though he wasn't here when it happened. He had his degree from the University of Michigan in health and fitness, and I think his dream came true. So thank you all for being here, for sharing the moment. It's been lovely.
Dr. Cunningham, would you help Marty and Wendy and Bailey?
We're tall.
The next thing we need to do is to adjourn outside so we can see this rock. We're going to go look at a rock. So would you three please lead the way? I think that's about everybody. Black is on this side. If they put it where they're supposed to put it, it's on this side. Look for some water there. All right. Side of Newby Field, home of Ranger football, 1930-1968, named for Coach W.D. Newby.
Yay.
Woo!
He actually was on this team. He took the picture.
Yes. I know. This is great. Well,
It really has been.
I felt everybody was definitely where we wanted to be, I think.
Yes.
in this committee. So, Richard is gone right now, but it was interesting that Richard Ryerson. We've done so many things. Anyway, this is. Anyway, so nice to meet you finally. It's hearing your ins and outs here and there. Our exit scene here with her.
You want to see her over there? We can do that.
We can do that. Oh, I'm sorry. I have screw track, but I've never really seen it.
See, our oldest Nathan holds the school record of friends in the 10 kilometer.
so there's some history there.
Yeah.
Genes, genetics.
Huge generation.
Yeah.
I found out that Jason, our grandfather, was a carpenter, and my dad left working there. That made sense. Left-handed carpenter.
Oh, even better.
Right, even better.
And you know, I get to welding or something, and rather than move, I just take my left hand.
Yeah.
I do a lot with my left hand, and I've got a left-handed neighbor that he can't do anything with his right hand.
Always in that understanding.
He just wants to put his
Yeah.
right hand. But I do a lot of things. I'm just working on something, and got it breaking with my left hand.
Yeah, my dad, I think, was.
And you know, I never knew that until later years.
Yeah.
I knew he was a carpenter, and something my dad had to mention me. Something that my granddad was a painter. I didn't know that.
1956.
Six? So many of them.
Because see, Stuart wasn't here yet. These were freshmen.
Yes, there are many.
Right.
No, these aren't freshmen, they're mixed. There's a freshman too.
There's a freshman or two and sophomores,
Yeah.
you think? All right, and this one is?
Jerry Hedrick.
Jerry Hedrick.
Wayne
I'm so
Posto,
happy, Joy, because he's so deserving.
Ray Ponder,
And they brought out some
Benny Smith,
accomplishments and
Buzz Bell, John Buzz Bell,
Uh-huh.
Weezer,
Don Weezer.
Don Weezer, that one I don't know.
and the community.
Sherman Lynn,
All that.
Sherman,
Gordon Crowder,
yeah.
Herb Garrett,
It's just so
Cheryl
deserving.
Lipp,
So it was time.
Don Miller,
Very timely. And I'm so glad the Suns.
Roger Roush,
Roger, yeah.
and Jasper Overton.
Jasper Overton.
Young grandchildren.
That was in 56, your freshman year, right.
And that's
Even
why
I was on that team, but I'm not in that picture.
You're not in this picture? Oh, Jim, I don't understand that. Now, what year do you think this was? See, I was trying to figure that
I'm
out.
guessing sometime in the early 50s. The helmets looked like about 1950, 51, or 52.
Okay.
It might have been the first year they had this stadium. No, it wasn't either.
And then
This
they
was
had a.
No.
Love that.